Hi everyone, I'm Rihanna, and in this video I give you tips on how to grow your hair long. So lots of you have been commenting on my Instagram posts recently asking how I've managed to get my hair to grow so long and healthy. So I'm going to give you 6 or 7 tips on how to encourage your hair to grow. Tip number 1. Change your hairstyle to a balayage look if you're dyeing it regularly. I used to be very blonde, and I used to need to go to the hairdressers to get my roots topped up really regularly. This made my hair snap and become very dry and weak. So no matter how well I was looking after my hair in between those colours, my hair just wasn't growing because it was snapping off essentially. So about 3 years ago I changed up my style and went for a more balayage ombre look. It's made a huge difference to the condition of my hair, and I only need to go to the hairdressers now maybe twice a year to get my colour topped up. Tip number 2, use less heat on your hair, if any. I honestly do not use heat on my hair. Very rarely will I. For example, over the last year, I have used heat on my hair maybe 3 times, and that was actually for my wedding day, my hen do. And the third was my wedding day that got postponed because of COVID. So yeah, Corona bride here. Straighteners, curlers, crimpers, hair dryers, they're all doing damage to your hair. I can't stress to you enough how much heat is damaging your hair and stopping it from growing long and healthy. If you must use something, always use heat protection first. Tip number 3. This one's probably the weirdest one, but I promise you it works. Honestly, this is the best tip I have for you. I cut my split ends religiously. When I'm bored or if I'm procrastinating or something, I'll literally just have a look at my hair. If I see a split end, I'll snip it off. So when you're looking at your hair, you want to see the hairs that have split literally into a V shape. You also might see little white dots at the end of your hair strands. This is where it's about to break. Just snip that right off. You don't want any of that in your hair. It's also weirdly therapeutic. Tip number 4, stop washing your hair so regularly. Naturally, my hair wants to be washed sort of every other day, but since lockdown, I haven't been going anywhere, so I've actually been leaving my hair in extra days. So allowing your hair to get a little bit greasy enables your scalp to rehydrate, which is good for your hair. Now I know what you're thinking, how are you gonna go outside with greasy hair? Well, there are ways to get around this. I have actually been really enjoying these days because I experiment with my hairstyles a little more. I've been doing more braids in my hair, using hair scarves, also putting my hair in a low bun too. Shout out to anyone who can send me a really good hairstyle. That brings me on to my 5th tip. When I do wash my hair, I always put in a leave-in conditioner after. This is going to help rehydrate your hair and protect it from natural elements. One of my favorites is NAC's Blonde Ends Therapy Leave-In Moisturizer. NAC's Blonde Ends Therapy Leave-In Moisturizer. I got it right. Tip number 6, avoid your hair getting too knotty. Obviously your hair's going to get a little knotty, it's unavoidable, but there are things you can do to stop it getting worse. If you're going out and it's a really windy day, put your hair in a bun or a plait. It's going to stop it tangling and getting all matted. I also brush my hair multiple times a day, probably up to 10 times a day. The reason you want to stop it getting too knotty is because detangling your hair can cause it to break. So if ever during the day I run my hands through my hair and I can't get it the whole way through because there's a knot there, I will always detangle it right then so it doesn't get any worse. And that brings me on to my final tip, tip number 7. When you are brushing your hair, brush your hair from the bottom upwards. So you want to start at the ends and make your way up your hair. If you're starting up here, you're going to push the knots down and it's going to tangle and get caught even more at the bottom. By starting at the ends, you're actually detangling as you go and preventing breakages from pulling too hard. So those are my 7 tips. I hope they help you, and if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you and happy hair growing.